Hi, and welcome to the second Prince of Persia development diary. Today, we're going to take a deeper look at the corruption in all of its forms and show you how the prince fights against the corruption by collaborating with Elika and taking advantage of her newly discovered magical abilities. First, though, we have another exclusive for you, a speed art drawing of a second boss in the game, the warrior. The warrior was once the king of a peaceful people who were besieged by violence on all sides. This king made himself and a small number of his people instruments of war so that the rest would not have to suffer through this conflict. Overwhelmed by their enemies, on the brink of destruction, the king heard Ahriman's voice, promising salvation in return for his soul. The king accepted the offer and became corrupted. Having defeated all of his enemies, the warrior could not return to his people as he had become everything they rejected.
Think of the warrior as Ahriman's muscle, and he's just this huge, massive smashing machine. And the complication for animation was always creating this contrast between what's basically a huge wrecking ball and the prince's acrobatic, agile style of combat.
In this Prince of Persia, the dual combat system gives us the freedom to make every fight epic. For the warrior, we want to emphasize his size and strength. David versus Goliath. Our fight designer Thomas worked closely with both level design and ourselves in animation to create fights that demand the prince use destructible objects and ledgers to his advantage. When facing the warrior, the prince cannot hope to overpower him, and only with Elika's help and by using his speed and agility to navigate the immediate environment will the prince have a hope of overcoming the warrior's deepest corruption.
The corruption is a term we use to refer to Ahriman's manifestation throughout the world. Ahriman seeks to twist and turn everything that is good into his dark and dreadful side. The most basic form of the corruption that is plaguing the land is represented by a dark and deadly matter. This matter is everywhere in the kingdom and can engulf the prince or any living form. Although it's the least evolved manifestation of the corruption, the dark matter reacts to any nearby presence and will track our heroes and try to block their paths. There are other, more evolved forms of the corruption that have far superior intelligence and serve as Ahriman's soldiers. There are many types of soldiers, and each of them possessing their own abilities and shape. And that's not all. Ahriman also has lieutenants that were once human. Their pleas and discontentment pushed them to sell their souls in return for one wish. They are the corrupted. As the corruption grows stronger, a light will shine, and this light will eventually meet the prince.
In the beginning of the game, the prince will come across Elika, a descendant of the Aeoras. They are a small nation who have been living in a remote kingdom for centuries. The events at the start of the game will force Elika to unleash a new power in order to battle Ahriman's corruption. Elika will discover many different powers during the adventure, which will prove essential in combat, acrobatics, and most importantly, to bring the light back to the world. One of them is the compass, which helps to point out the way to the destination you have chosen to travel within the kingdom. Another one is the healing power that converges all of Elika's power in a healing ground and then repulses the corruption out of this area. The corruption will then have no more effect in this area, letting the nature blossom again. Lastly, whenever the prince is in a critical position, Elika will help him and bring him back to the last safe place, both in combat and acrobatics. This new system will give a penalty to the player without breaking the flow of the game and makes the prince seem more like a mortal human, which is what he is. Throughout the game, Elika will be able to acquire new powers. The player will get to choose which power to unlock, and this choice will have a definite impact on how the game unfolds. These powers will be available in exchange for light seeds, which only appears in the healed areas. They are scattered in the region and will require the use of all the characters' skills to reach them. Once you have enough light seeds, you will be able to trade them for a new power.
Thanks for tuning in to the second development diary. We hope you liked what you saw, and stay tuned in coming weeks for even more.